Welcome back to the Your Health television program hosted by the Monterey County Health Department. I'm Emily Sciolto, your host today, and just about every third Monday of each month. So about 20 years ago, the United Nations designated this coming Friday, March 22nd, as World Water Day. And in observance of that, today we're discussing Monterey County water. So let's get right back into it. I'd like to introduce my next guest to the program, Ms. Sandy Ayala, Senior Environmental Health Specialist with the Monterey County Environmental Health Bureau Drinking Water Protection Services Division. So welcome, Sandy, and thanks for taking the time to join us.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for having us.
Indeed. So for this segment, let's look at what the well delivers. Let's talk about the water.
Okay.
What are some of the water quality problems? I hate to use that word.
Well, there are problems everywhere, and here in Monterey County we have specific problems due to the activities that we do in this county. I'd like to back up a little and talk about acute versus chronic.
Sure.
So when we talk about a contaminant, an acute contaminant is going to get you sick right away. You drink that water, you get sick. We're very concerned about those. There's also chronic problems that we're also concerned about, but you know how you hear about, well, if you drink 500 gallons a day for 500 years, you might be. So it's kind of that kind of a chronic situation where you need long-term exposure. We have both in this county. We have maximum contaminant levels, or an MCL, which is where the state or the federal government have set a limit. California is more stringent than the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, that sets the limits for the federal limits. So California is usually lower than they are and more stringent. So for the acute things, the things that will make you sick, we have nitrate and bacteria.
Okay.
And for the chronic things, we have arsenic, fluoride, cadmium, radiological, MTBE. We also have primary and secondary constituents. So our primary constituents are things that pose a health risk. The secondary constituents are just aesthetically unpleasing.
Oh.
And so for those, we have iron and manganese. It doesn't pose a health risk, but it'll make your toilets turn black.
Oh.
We also have hard water, and that's going to make that white crusty stuff, and that's from calcium. It's not a health risk, but we don't like it. It also makes the water taste kind of funny. Saltwater intrusion we have here, which doesn't taste very good. Your plants don't like it. And then with that, we have total dissolved solids near the coast where you're going to see stuff in your water. Ooh. Now, sometimes if you pour a glass of water and it looks all foggy,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden it clears up.
I've been wondering about that my whole life.
That's air. It's no problem. It's because there's a lot of pressure, and so the water is rushing in so fast that it makes air bubbles, and so they clear up. So but it doesn't taste very good because it might have some calcium and some iron and some manganese. But all your city water is very highly regulated and very potable and definitely drinkable. I drink mine.
So you totally answered a lifelong question of mine.
Good.
Thank you so much. Wow. So it's not bad.
No, it's not. The only time you have a problem is when you're outside of the city limits. You have your own well. You share it with 10, 15 people, maybe 2 or 3 people, and it's not as highly regulated as the big cities are. So the big cities, it's so highly regulated that if it wasn't good for you to drink, it would be on television.
Okay. All right. So that's a really nice overview of some of the issues and you know, their little classifications and things. Thank you for that. What other areas of concern are there, if any, and or where do these contaminants come from?
Well, there's little pockets around the county that have problems, and it's not limited to these areas, certainly. So if I start mentioning some of these and you say, well, I don't live there or I don't live there, it doesn't mean that you don't need to worry about your water. You need to have it tested in order to find out. But we have arsenic, which is in North County, it's in South County, it's in the Highway 68 corridor, Corral de Tierra, San Venancio. We've also found cadmium in San Venancio and Corral de Tierra. We find fluoride out deep in Carmel Valley in the Cachagua area. We've found some radiological problems in Jalón and in Salinas. Nitrates are all through the Salinas Valley, also in North County, South County. And we have some MTBE, which is a additive to gasoline.
Oh.
We have some plumes in the city of Salinas and in the mouth of Carmel Valley at Rio Road.
Wow. So definitely.
There's a lot of problems, but once we know what they are, and you know what they are, then you know what to do. Don't drink it, or treat it, or find another source. But at least if you know. If you don't know and you don't test it, then there's no way to know.
Yeah, I see. And so those are the areas of concern. We've talked about the problems, you know, that people in these areas are experiencing. So where do these contaminants come from? You mentioned the gas. I can kind of put two and two together with that, but...
Well, we'll start with bacteria,
Okay.
because it's one of the acute problems. If you have a well that's situated right next to a river or some other water course, they carry protozoans and other viruses and contaminants that aren't in groundwater, so you have to worry about that. If your well is improperly constructed and it can't keep the runoff from a rain event out, you're going to get all that stuff in there. If you have shallow groundwater and we don't have a good sanitary seal that they talked about earlier, you don't have the natural filtration before your pump sucks it in and brings it to you. So we want to worry about that. And also storage tanks, if they're not maintained properly, can be the culprit to many problems.
Oh, I bet, huh? Because the well, we talked a lot about getting the well water tested, this, that, and everything, but do people often think to test the storage, the water in the, or
at least maintain the storage tank. Make sure nothing's, go in and look at it, you know. A big storm will come by, it'll blow the roof, the lid off. You don't go look at it, then a root rat jumps down and falls in, and oh my gosh, we have E. coli.
Ooh.
So you do need to pay attention to your equipment.
Okay. And how do I know?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Were you going to say something?
Yeah, there are a few more nitrates. Nitrates are not naturally occurring. They are a result of fertilizer application and on-site septic systems.
Okay.
So in the past, we didn't know. Once you know, you do better. And now that we know, we make sure that we site these wells far away from any of these contaminants. But if you have a very old well that wasn't really looked at because we didn't know, you could have those problems. Fluoride is naturally occurring. It comes from the formation that you're drilled into. And in Monterey County, we do not have any municipal water sources that add fluoride. Huh. But we do have it naturally occurring, like I said, out in the Kashawa area, where it is over the maximum contaminant level, and it is a concern. Arsenic is naturally occurring. It comes from the granitic formation, where most of Monterey County is built over a granite formation, so there is a lot of arsenic. The EPA lowered the maximum contaminant level from 50 parts per billion to 10 parts per billion a couple years ago, so it put a lot of people over. They maybe had 20, 30, they were fine, they were under 50, and now all of a sudden it's 10, and they're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
it's over. So that's causing a lot of problems. And then the cadmium that we're finding in Corral and San Venancio it can be naturally occurring, but it also comes from deterioration of a galvanized pipe. And your well, as Marnie talked about, is made from a galvanized or PVC. And if it's galvanized and you have aggressive water that's very low or high pH, it can leach that out of it. And
that's how it gets contaminated.
That's how it gets there.
So galvanized metal, is that what you said?
Galvanized pipe, galvanized steel pipe can be leached out of this cadmium by aggressive water. Yeah.
Wow. So so maybe stick with the PVC, huh? Okay.
Well, it depends on where you are.
that.
If you're over by the coast and you've got salt water, PVC is not going to do very well, and you might have to put in stainless steel. And stainless steel is very, very, very expensive.
Expensive, yeah. And that, though, would be the best?
It would be the best. I think the best would be to stick with the municipal water source that is bringing you water from somewhere not right on the coast where they don't have the saltwater intrusion to deal with.
Okay, so we're getting some best practices here, if you have that kind of money.
Right.
So how do I know if my water is safe to drink?
Well, you need to test it.
Okay.
Because most of the contaminants of concern are tasteless and odorless. You can't tell. You can't taste it and go, ooh, there's something in my water. So that's what makes it really dangerous. Testing the water is the only way to ensure that you have safe water to drink. And I want to reiterate that the municipal sources like the City of Monterey, the City of Seaside, they're all highly regulated by the state of California, the California Department of Public Health, where there are over 200 connections. It's a big city, and they have to test like crazy. And if for some reason something fails, you will be notified. It's when the smaller ones, when there's 2 or 3 homes, and that's who we regulate, and we try to stay on it as long as we can get the people to test and we can evaluate it, and then we can best inform them of how to deal with it. But if you don't test your water, that's when you're in danger.
And so, and you also mentioned too earlier, you have to know, you guys, environmental health has to know the well is there.
Yes.
In the first place.
Yes.
So people, it's dependent upon the public, the community to report to you that they have a well.
And that's what we're here for. We're here to give them technical advice and to do inspections and help them learn about what they have so that they can better maintain it.
So if they haven't reported that, they may be doing a disservice to themselves.
Absolutely.
Just throwing that out there.
Absolutely.
So bacteria is everywhere. I
Yes.
know this because I work at the health department. Can you go into a little bit more detail about some bacteria in the water?
Yeah, well, what we do is we test for coliform bacteria, which is a very cheap, inexpensive way to find out if something else is getting in. Because in order to test for those other organisms, it's very, very expensive. So we use coliform bacteria as an indicator organism. It's kind of like the canary in the coal mine.
Okay.
And so it's about $25. Coliform bacteria is everywhere. It's in the bushes, it's in the air, it's in the soil, it's on your skin, it's everywhere. And it's not a health threat. But if it's not in groundwater. So if you find that in your groundwater, then you know there's something else getting in. Because if you got a test for the other protozoans that might be of interest to you, Giardia costs $500 a sample, and Cryptosporidium costs $1,000 a sample.
Wow.
So we do the $25 sample and say, hey, something's getting in. So let's go take a look. We come out and we'll meet you out there. We'll walk through the system. We'll look to see if there's any cheap, easy fixes that we can do to eliminate that coliform getting in there. If there's no coliform bacteria in your well, then there's none of the other coliforms because they don't live in that anaerobic environment. So there are other kinds of coliform bacteria. There's fecal coliform and E. coli, and we've all heard of those, and we know that they cause gastrointestinal illness, can cause death, and can be easily removed from your water system by some simple fixes that we can make. The people that are most susceptible to these bacteria are the very old and the very young, and people with compromised immune systems or on cancer therapy. We, Monterey County, opted out of the California aqueduct system, which most of California uses, that comes from the Colorado River. And that is highly treated and highly tested and very potable. So we all have groundwater wells, and everybody has a little straw in the aquifer. And so that's when you want to make sure, if you have your little straw in your 2 or 3 houses, you got to make sure you're looking out for it. Over 90% of the water in Monterey County, either for agricultural purposes or drinking purposes, comes from groundwater, which is very rare in California because usually it's from the California aqueduct. If you do have a problem with bacteria, you can boil your water. You can boil it for 5 minutes and then it's safe to use. Putting it through your coffee maker does not boil it. So you would want to boil water first and then make coffee.
Okay.
The same with your ice. Freezing it is not going to kill it. It slows it down. So you want to boil that water and then make your ice. The disinfection process is, if you have a well, you will take a ½ a gallon of household bleach, put it down the well, and then 1 gallon for every 10,000 gallons of storage that you have. And then everybody in the system turns on their cold water taps inside and out until that water gets in there with a disinfectant. Let it sit overnight, at least for 6 hours, and then flush it out. And that will do the job. And I did bring a bacteria bottle, and I forgot it in the other room. I was going to show you how to do that, and I apologize.
No, it's okay, but thank you for all these tips and tricks. Like, this is very, very useful information, I think, that you're providing here. Nitrates, so we talked about bacteria, and we talked about testing before that. One of my questions was, how do you know what to test for? But it sounds like you're saying test for bacteria. Test for the coliform bacteria first.
Well, because it's acute, it's going to get you sick right away. So that makes us more worried instead of 100 years down the road that we might get sick. Nitrate is another one that's acute. It causes methemoglobinemia, or blue baby syndrome, where it binds up the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood and the baby pretty much suffocates. It also affects women, pregnant women, and it also causes diuresis, which is excessive urination and hemorrhaging of the spleen. So boiling this water will not help you. It will only concentrate the contamination and make it worse. So you want to use bottled water for something like that. The only thing you want to boil is bacteria. If you have two different things, nitrate and bacteria, do not boil it. Just get bottled water.
Okay, so let me make sure. Okay, so what you're saying is if you're getting sick from because it's acute, bacteria is an acute infection that happens. Do you know it's bacteria culprit?
No, that's why you have to test your water.
Okay.
Right away, before you use it, don't drink it until you test it, unless you're on a municipal source like a city water that is highly regulated. If it's just your little well and your little community, make sure you test it before you drink it. Be safe first.
Okay, so you're saying once you test it and you see that there's coliform bacteria, you can do the boil.
And you can call us. We can come out and help you troubleshoot, fix
until
some
you
little
get
things,
everything fixed.
until you
You
get
can
it
do
all
these.
fixed up.
Okay.
Test it again. It comes back good. Go ahead and drink it.
And with nitrates, you're saying do not boil.
Do not drink. Do not boil. No.
Wait until you get it all fixed up.
Wait until you test it. Make sure there's no nitrates. Then you can go ahead and drink it if it doesn't have bacteria.
Okay.
Okay.
These seem simple questions. I just want to make sure, though, everyone's on the same page here. We're getting it. Unfortunately, it was so nice talking to you, but I think that's all the time we're going to have right now, Sandy.
Okay, well, thank you, Emily.
You've taught us some awesome little tips and tricks. You guys definitely, it seems like you have your work cut out for you a little bit. There's no shortage of problems, it sounds
I'd like to say one more thing, though, that
Go
anybody
ahead.
who has any questions about water can always call us. We are here to help you out with those kind of things.
Awesome. You heard it. Right now, we're going to take a short break, but please don't go away. We'll be back with more of the Your Health television program in just a moment.